prior to me starting Quasar in 2016, I had worked in the coal mines for many years for other companies and things like that. And I'd seen, other companies using cheaper versions of aluminium trays, or, the genuine trays that you'd find on a car when you get them from the dealership. And they're section welded trays, and they'd put heavy toolboxes on them. And, 6 months later, they're pulling the toolboxes off to repair all the welds and things like that. So I'd seen all of that. And in a way, people used to counter that problem then is they'd go to a steel version of a tray. So they'd get a much heavier steel version, and they wouldn't usually have the problems with the welds and stuff because structurally it was a lot stronger. But in the mines, you're dealing with water with high sulfur content, and it's very, very corrosive, more corrosive than salt water is. And so they'd have this nice powder-coated steel tray. After 6 months' time, it's covered in stone chips. 12 months there from that, and they've got rust holes, and they're pulling it off to get it powder-coated. So I guess after seeing the issues with your cheaper aluminium type trays, and then the issues you can get with your steel trays with corrosion, the perfect option for us was to go with a heavy-duty aluminium tray from tray and canopy combo from Norweld, because it's built strong and you don't have those issues with welds that you see in your section welded 1.8 mil aluminium trays that you get on the market, and then anything that is steel is stainless, and so you don't have the issues with rust. So for us, it made perfect sense to go down that path, and I was familiar with Norweld being an Australian company just like we are. And so I guess we made that decision with the first car we bought in 2016, and that was a flat pack removable headboard version of the Norweld tray, and we've still got that out there today, 400,000 Ks on it in the mines, and since then we've got 40 vehicles on the road now, and haven't looked elsewhere. Quasar started in mining as just myself, and it was that way for the first couple of years, and then we started to expand on that, employing electricians, just in general infrastructure maintenance types role, like looking after the infrastructure that supports the mining operations. And then we did that for a few years with a smaller group of people. Then we started to move into the heavy machinery space. So we started getting some auto electricians to work on the trucks and all the ancillary equipment. And then we moved into the excavators and stuff as well. And so we kind of grew naturally from just the infrastructure space in the mines to the trucks and then to the excavators and things like that, from low voltage electrical, high voltage electrical to the automotive electrical stuff. We've got a small crew in the business now that does mobile air conditioning, so we do our planned servicing on the air conditioning systems and all the equipment, as well as breakdowns and maintenance and stuff like that as well. And then we're, I guess, not just in the valley, like over the last couple of years we've kind of aimed to diversify a little bit more out of the coal industry into other manufacturing type spaces here around Newcastle and then down on the Central Coast. So I think now, as we stand at the moment, we're probably about 60 to 70% coal mining in the Hunter Valley, and probably 20% manufacturing, and then the last 10 being around industrial sectors here in Newcastle. And it gives the boys a bit of variety too. Like if I've had someone up in the mines for a couple of years and they want to change, or then we can offer them that change within Quasar, and they can come here to Newcastle and they can get involved with some manufacturing type work and in some other industries here, and with staying with us in the same time. I'm from an engineering background as well. I did my trade, then I did my engineering, and then I guess part of that diversification with us now is we're also, I guess, providing developmental pathways for our electricians to go down the engineering path, and then upskilling them into electrical engineering and giving them that experience on site in engineering roles to develop their career off the tools, which most people want to do at some point in time. Our first build was the removable headboard flat pack Norweld tray. Didn't have the canopy on the first build. It was just myself with my hand tools. Didn't require the canopy, and at that stage I was working in a semi-supervision role, so I was in the office a lot as well. Second build for our electricians that we started to employ looking after infrastructure was just a half canopy build, which about 80% of our builds are now currently. Then when we started moving into the automotive electrical space, that's when we got the full canopy builds come into play with power, so we can run the air conditioner reclaimers and that type of equipment that comes with that work. And the power is handy for the guys as well, to be able to run their battery chargers, to keep their batteries charged on their tools and stuff like that. So a lot of, I guess, in Quasar now, if you're doing automotive work and air conditioning systems, you're probably going to have a full canopy build with power in it to run the aircon gear. And if you're on project teams that's using their power tools and stuff a lot, you'll probably have a half canopy build with power as well, just to keep the batteries charged so the work can keep going. After probably 3 or 4 years driving up and down the highway and around the mines, the car's got to a point where it's between the 150,000 to 180,000 mark is when the car's ready to move on. It's at a point where it's still a good used vehicle for its next buyer. So I guess the process that we follow there and we have for all of our builds is we'll get a new car from the dealership and we'll bring it into the shop with our existing car that's out there ready to be sold. We lift the canopy off, bolt the canopy back onto the back of the new car, and then we send it. It's good for another 150,000 Ks. So I think out there at the moment we've got like some of our builds are onto their 3rd Hilux, and the builds are just as strong and as good as they were when we originally bought them. As far as like parts and stuff are concerned, I think we've worked with your fleet team to identify some of the critical spares that we should keep, and it's only ever moving parts, stuff like gas struts, your handles and your locks and things like that. And so when we do have issues in that space, we hold some critical parts there that we can use. But as far as like the canopy is concerned structurally, we never have issues on a structural part. It's usually just your bits and pieces, locks, struts and stuff, which we keep and use as required. We've seen these canopies stand up to the harshest of conditions through the mines. As I said earlier, the water that's used to wash these vehicles in the mines is much more corrosive than that you'd find in the ocean and stuff. And so, anything that can stand up to those environments will stand up to anything else, any other environment they'd see in Australia. So, for as far as the ultimate setup for camping or any type of recreational use would be what's on the back of our cars, and we find that with a lot of guys. I've experienced issues in the past when I was working for other companies running cheap trays, cheap toolboxes on them. Tray cracks, you've got to take the toolbox off to fix the tray, then you've got to put the toolbox back on the tray, and then all that comes with downtime. When you're doing that, you can't send that person to work. So yeah, I guess downtime is a very important thing, and then we haven't had that issue obviously with any of the Norweld trays that we use. The canopy's built well, it keeps the guys' tools dry. So if as a business, or we expect our people to go out and do good quality work, so we then provide good quality equipment to keep their tools dry and safe, so that enables them to do a good job for our clients. For us, the plan is to continue to grow. I like building a team. The team, everyone in our team's like-minded. A lot of people are friends outside of work, which has come as a result of coming into Quasar, which is a great thing, and I enjoy watching that grow and develop. So I think the future for Quasar means we'll continue to grow in numbers, continue to grow as far as like diversification is concerned. There's a lot of other industries still that we haven't tapped into properly yet. It gives more variety for the guys, and so for us, our plan is growth and diversification, and we'll keep going in the direction that we have been. With most of our work being in the Newcastle and Hunter region, the opening of the new Norweld branch in Newcastle is just going to make it so much more convenient for us. It's close to home for us. All of our guys are around here, so all our builds can get done here. If we've got any issues, we can pop in and see the guys for bits and pieces on the canopies. And it's just going to make our growth a lot easier. I'm going to miss my mate Jono down at Sydney there. That's been my second home for the last 4 or 5 years, heading down to Western Sydney to get the builds done. But I'm keen to see what this new Newcastle facility will be like.